Yeah, everybody, let me get locked in here. Ugh. Oh, there we go. Let's see, bend that way a little bit. And again, does it look like it's straight? It looks like it's straight on the camera. We'll see what it turns out to be when I'm looking at it later going, God damn it, it's crooked again. Anyway, going through my knives as I evaluate, I go through a lot of knives. Some I buy just because they're impulse buys. I have another one coming in the way. I'll be reviewing later in the week. And then others I buy because I really think I'm going to like them, but then sometimes the reality of owning and carrying them doesn't really match up to what my anticipations were. It could be an ergonomics thing, it could be a grip thing, it could be a lot of different things. And so occasionally I'm going to go through my collection to weed some things out. Not necessarily saying I'll get rid of any of these, but this is kind of the process I go through. And it depends on what you're going to carry and when. There's no perfect carry gun because sometimes you got to dress up nice and you can't have a big ass 1911 on your hip open carry, and so you need maybe something small like an LCP Max that you can throw in a pocket holster and carry discreetly. Other times you're in the woods, you get your 44 mag in case you run up on a bear, feral pig, coyotes are in this, all that stuff's in this area. Same thing with knives. When you want to go super discreet and minimalist, you're going to go with a Delica 4. You're going to go with a Benchmade bug out or a bug out mini that's super thin, small, and light, and still tough enough for what it is in most everyday tasks. But this one's going to be about I've got a bunch of knives. I've been going through Spydercos lately and stuff, and looking at like my bigger carrying knives versus just my bigger knives. Now I'm looking to figure out which of these three I like the best for if I was going to go with a hard use, full size, full grip, EDC, but still EDCable. And that's going to be the difference between these. Because I've got some big ass heavy duty knives. I mean, this thing weighs about 7 freaking ounces. It's got at least a 4-inch blade of S35 VN, massive slabs of titanium backspacer, big ass slab of G10. It's built like a tank. This is my steel wheel apostate in a Tonto. Super, super heavy duty, very thick blade stock. But it's not an EDC. I mean, you could carry it, certainly, but it's not an EDC. It's too big for that. It's too clunky. It's too unwieldy. It's just so much weight in your pocket. It's not really conducive to EDC. Same thing goes for these others. This is a great camp knife. It's nice and tough. It's thick aluminum slabs. It's the Alox version of the Victorinox Hunter with over stainless steel liners. Decent steel, though I wish it had a high grind, flat grind, rather than the Scandinavian type of grind. But it works. It's a very strong, it'll get the job done. It's a very strong, tough knife and blade. But again, it's a big ass blade. It's not one hand opening or one hand closing. The action on this is actually a little stiff and you can't adjust it. It'll just have to wear in. I have tried oiling it. But again, that's a 6.5 ounce, almost 7 ounce knife. This is over, even though it's titanium, there's a lot of steel in that blade and the G10. It might be a little. This might be 6.5. This is around 7. Then you get up into like something like that. The Medford Praetorians. This is the Artisan Cutlery, which is a fantastic heavy use knife. And if I put the lanyard on, it has a screw, a hardened steel basically bolt that goes through both pieces of G10, through the steel liners, and it goes through the blade, making it essentially a fixed blade. And it's got a big heavy duty D2, which is good tough tool steel. That's a fantastic knife, but it's over half a pound. You're not carrying that every day. It's not an EDC. I tend to carry more than the bug out. I'll carry the bug out or the Delica when I need to be really discreet in an office environment. When I want something just a little bit more, there's PM3s, and I've been a big fan of this guy recently. Been playing with this one, the Sage 5, which is big. It's still small and discreet and fairly lightweight, but it's big enough to get some work done. It's really nice action and stuff. And I've been really happy with my Manix 2 lightweight, even more so than the PM2. The PM2 is going to go down in history as one of the ultimate heavy-duty, larger EDC knives of all time. There is nothing wrong with it. You can get it in a combination of colors, materials, in different blade steels. It's the, you know, if the bug out is the ubiquitous, small, discreet, super lightweight EDC knife, the PM2 and things like that are going to be that same caliber, those same credentials, in the larger size. It's a fantastic knife, but I'll tell you, the handle's a little skinny for me this way. Not for using it in everyday tasks and just cutting open boxes or rope or whatever, but if I was going to use this as a hard use knife, it's got a bunch of hard edges. The clip does have a little bit of a hot spot. I don't think this would be that comfortable after a while. Now, maybe if you had gloves, but I feel like I'd probably be getting blisters from this, and it would be very uncomfortable and sore after 15, 20 minutes of really using it for anything. This one I'll say is marginally better. It's lighter. I mean, this thing's very light. For the size of this knife, it is a wicked knife. And I would say this is probably near my favorite for a large, hard use EDC. It's got good blade stock. It's got that ball bearing lock, which is a really, really strong lock. It's just a fantastic knife. And you get a full grip on it. It is a little narrow and it's not as grippy as I would want. And again, these edges are kind of very square. They're at 90 degrees. You feel those. You don't feel the hot spot from the pocket clip. I actually like the wire clip because you almost don't feel it. But this, again, I think this would dig into your hands and you'd start to get blisters and hot spots, and it would hurt after a while. Doesn't mean in a survival situation or doing something that you wouldn't do what you had to do. I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, there's a little bit of pain, you can't use the knife. No, but, a tool should do everything it can do that you need it to do without causing you, any kind of pain. And, I would want it to be, if I have a choice, I want it to be a pleasure to use. Which brings me to this one that's been sitting in my drawer for a long time. And I rarely carry it because, I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about it. But while this is going to be in my pocket most of the time just because of the size and the weight, for the larger day, if I'm going to be doing something where I'm like, no, I want something a little bigger. Let's say I can't carry a gun. So I'm going to be, it's this or nothing. I'm going to carry up, but I can get away with a larger blade. But I don't want to have a blade that's, out of control. That's where I feel these knives would come into play, for me anyway. And I started playing with this, and I'll tell you right now, you just do the thumb roll, because this one, well, you can, or you just, flick it open. Uses a Benchmade Axis style lock, but that opening is not really conducive to doing a, God damn, I wish I could get through a fucking video. I love my dogs except one dog. I really don't like the dog that's barking. She is just an absolute pain in the ass and gets all the other dogs riled up. She's a troublemaker and actually got one of my dogs killed. So I don't have a lot of fondness for that dog. Anyway. So anyway, where was I before I got distracted? That's the biggest problem. It's just very distracting. I hear that and I get pissed off, and it gets very distracting. So anyway, the thing I like about this Hogue, and so I started playing with this again, because up to now, when I've gone for the bigger knife in the morning, when I grab, figure out what am I going to carry today, I've been going to the Manix 2. For its size and the weight, it's lighter than this. It's a featherweight. You pick it up and you're like, is this a toy? And then you're like, no, it's pretty goddamn stout. This is a real working knife, the Manix 2 lightweight. But then I pick this one up and I'm like, oh my God, this fits my hand like a glove. Hogue made this for SIG. They're using the exact same plastic and they're using the exact same design language as the SIG 320, the P320 pistols, which they make the handles for them. So they've got a lot of experience with injection molded plastics and stuff. So it's got just enough traction. You've got steel underneath. It's milled out underneath the plastic, but the plastic is contoured where it needs to be, but also has some good grip where it needs to be. You've got your jimping on the back, and you've got your finger choil, just like you do on the Spyderco. And that's one of the benefits is you can use it full hand, you can choke up on it, you got a place to put your thumb, you got a place to lock your finger in and do some more fine cuts. Well, you got that here too. You've got a really good axis lock. It's one of the strongest type of locks out there. You have a deep carry pocket clip, something that these guys don't have. You have to pay extra for that, either from Spyderco or MXG Gear or one of those companies. So it is a little heavier, but it's about the same weight, maybe a itty bit lighter than the PM2. It's right there in the same size range. Do a size comparison. We got 3.5 inch. We got 3.5 inch, and this should also be 3.5 ish. Cutting edge of 3 and not quite 3.25, but yeah, just under that. This one's got a 3-inch cutting, so this one does have a little more of a cutting edge. That's 3 inches. Now this one is a good bit shorter. It's at 3, but part of it's serrated, but you can get it in a Tonto blade. You can get this in a drop point. You can get it coated or uncoated. And in any of those combinations, you can get it in black, gray, or FDE, and you can get serrated or partially serrated or straight edge. At the time when I wanted to buy this, all I could find was this one. And honestly, I don't normally like partially serrated, because if you're doing certain kind of cuts, it gets in the way. But there is enough edge there with a belly to do a lot of your cutting. And then if you got zip ties and rope where you just want to go boom right through them, it is nice to have that. I'm probably going to order one. I don't know if I'll get it in a drop point versus the Tonto. I'll kind of see what's out there. But I'm probably going to buy another one of these and get it with just a full normal straight edge. But this thing, as much as I've been on the Spyderco kit lately, as I look, what I'm going to do is probably just start to whittle down my collection, and that's why I'm doing these things. Because as I'm going through the thought process, I'm like, oh, maybe someone else has got the same problems, or not problems, but the same questions and the same knives, and they're like, was this one really better than the other, and stuff like that. So as I go to whittle down some of my collection to where I've got, each category of knives, I'll have my small slip joints, large slip joints, I'll have some of my classic lockback, I'll pick 1, 2, or 3 on each category, and I'm probably going to give away or sell the rest. Same thing goes with my EDCs. Do I really need 27 different variations of bug out or bug out size? No. I got a Delica, I got a bug out, I got the SOG Altair XR. I got a couple small, really wispy, small, thin EDC blades. I'll keep 1 or 2 of them. Same thing with Swiss Army knives. Do I need a bunch of different Victorinox knives that have just slightly different tool sets? No. I should pick the slimmest one that's minimalist, and then the one that has as much tools as I want without being too much, and get rid of the rest. And that's what I'm doing here. Is I'm probably going to get rid of the PM2, honestly. I've had this for years, and I almost just never carry it. And I'm probably going to get rid of my PM3 lightweight, because as much as I like it, I really should have gotten the other, the one with the regular scales. It just doesn't have the grip that I want. But this thing does, and it's the same exact size. So I don't need the PM3. So the PM2 and the PM3 are going to probably leave. I'll keep this. I'll keep my Delic, go in size, and my native 5 lightweight. It's in the same size as this. It's just a lockback. I don't really need that. So there's a bunch of knives I'm probably going to start getting rid of. And this is how I'm making my decision process. I really like this for a full-size, lightweight EDC folder that's hard use and you can, take a beating. I think this is 154 CM or a CPM. Oh no, this is S30V. Okay, this is CPM S30V. So again, great steel, decent corrosion resistance, plus it's got that PVD coating. The ergonomics on this are just fucking fantastic. And you got the deep carry pocket clip. I am probably going to start carrying this more than I carry this one. They've got the same kind of lock. It's just a little smaller in your pocket. It's only marginally heavier, but between having the better ergonomics and the better pocket clip, that is one of the most comfortable knives that I own. So I think I just talked myself into giving up my PM2 and PM3. So anyway, and then out of these knives and stuff, I don't know. If I ever go camping, I'm not big on camping. I would probably keep this just for that. And this one my wife gave me, one of the first presents she gave me for one of my birthdays or Christmas. So that I'm just keeping for sentimental value. I'll probably get rid of this one too. I bought it to review it and have it, but I'm never going to go out and need to split wood with a folding pocket knife. So, so I probably don't need that one either. So we're going to add that one to the mix of knives I'm going to get rid of. But if you haven't tried one of these Hogues and you like knives like the PM2, you like knives like the Manix 2, this is in the same price range. You pick these up for $125 to $145 or $150 these days. They're right there in the same price range as the lightweight version of the Manix 2. And you're looking at comparable size. They're going to be probably as stout. In fact, I would say this one, being that it has the plastic over the steel liners as opposed to this just being plastic, you know, this one's probably going to be more comparable to the regular Manix, not the lightweight. And it doesn't, honestly, it's not that much heavier. If we're talking like an ounce heavier, I would be surprised if it's even that much. So I'm really loving the Hogue. I like the shape of that. It's just a really good knife. So that's the ones I'm keeping. The PM3 is going to go away. I might go do more of these videos as I skinny down my collection. I'll pick the category, and then I'll go through which ones I like and then which ones I think don't make the cut for me. And then those are going to go up on the chopping block. I'm going to sell them. So that's what we got. Out of these three, we're keeping the Manix 2. We're keeping the Hogue. This will be my number 1. That's my number 2. And this is number 3. And we're going to let it go. So anyway, if you find this interesting, we'll see you next time around. Let me know in the comments.